Well, good evening, my friends. Kevin the Comic Doctor coming to you with another live CGC unboxing. Guys, just one box tonight. That's all I got, but it's a good one. We got some fun stuff in here today. I think you're really going to enjoy it. My friends, I'm Kevin the Comic Doctor. I'm a comic book presser. I'm also an authorized CGC dealer located way up in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. And like I said, this is a live CGC unboxing. CGC is that grading company we all love. The company we send all of our treasured comics to get graded and then sent back to me. And guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about CGC's consistency. It's a conversation I had with Moneyball Comics a little while ago. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today with you. So if you are new here, my friends, and you like comic books and comic book collecting, comic book grading, comic book pressing, all that fun stuff, I think you found the right place. I sure hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, liking the content, and of course, by subscribing to the channel, you can join in our live chat. And I think there's a bunch of guys over there right now already chatting up a storm. We'll get to those guys in just a little bit, but first we're going to dive right in. Hey, again, guys, I told you, I like to start this off with 9/8. I open this box up, first book right away. I'm not joking. First book I've got, where's my overhead cam? There it is. Boom. 9.8, Something is Killing the Children, #1. The Boom Studios, right there. And if you guys liked the thumbnail, that is of a Hulk 181. It's right here, my friends. Hulk 181. This is Ash's book, all the way back from CGC. In an 8.0. We were hoping for a little higher grade. It's a pretty book, and I tell you, I can see why some people really dig on those custom labels. This custom label looks fantastic on the Hulk 181. I have to say, I got to be honest. At first, the whole custom label thing, kind of gimmicky for sure. But you know what? It does kind of set the book off quite nicely. So there you go, Ash. Ash has got many other books coming back too. But this is the first one. It was an unlimited value, so it was done pretty quickly and returned quite quickly. The next batch of books of his are some high value books. Those should be coming back. I thought they might be back for today, but they're not. They'll probably be here for the next unboxing on Tuesday. So what do we have next? We have, let's pull out a bunch here. Let's put a bunch of books here. And of course, when the stack gets high, then I'll go to the chat room and say hi to everybody. 28 of you in the room right now, guys. Thanks for popping by. If you're new here, let us know where you're watching from. I love to see where you guys are tuning in from. So say hello and let me know your name and where you're watching from. And of course, participate in the conversation. Before we get there, guys, what do you think about CGC's consistency in terms of their grading? Do you think, if you've been grading books for a long time, have you noticed a change in their grading? Do you think they are very consistent with their grades? I'd love to hear what you think. Next, we have a copy of Omega Men #3 in a 9.4. We have a copy of, all right, lots of invoices here. We have a copy of Daredevil 168, and this one is in a newsstand copy, I believe. Yes, it is right there. I'm also checking for any cracks and what have you, because that's very important. Got to catch those cracks as they come in. We have a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 238. Noticing something there. It's a 9.4. Tattoos intact. Direct copy right there. We also have a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 100. I just sold one of these not too long ago in a 9.0, and I'm kind of regretting it. But anyways, here's another one, and this one is an 8.0 copy. And again, you've got that New York City awesome label right there. Come on, in an 8.0. And we'll stop with this one here, X-Men 101, first appearance of Phoenix. Yeah, I got a 4.5. Lots of heavy staining on this book here. So this would be a kind of a fun book to play around with cleaning, because that stain probably would come out. But anyhow, again, remember, doing aqueous baths is not a 10-minute job. It requires hours and hours of work. So again, I tell people, if you're going to give a book an aqueous bath to remove staining or just to preserve the book, because aqueous baths are basically what do you call it? Deacidification baths. Deacidification, am I saying that right? Baths. And it actually strengthens the paper, especially paper that is deteriorating, by introducing proper pH water or aqueous an aqueous bath, you actually restore life to the paper. But again, is it for a book like this? You going to spend the money on this book? I don't know if it's worth it or not, to be quite honest. It's usually reserved for those special books that are hard to find, very rare, and deserving of conservation. Okay, let's go over to the chat room. We got about 35 people. We'll probably talk about this whole CGC consistency thing as we go along. So I already see some guys already chatting about it. Let's see where the heck my chat window is here. Boom, there it is. All right, I'll go back to the top of the screen there. Mephistopheles Ghost was the first one here. No, they're all over the place. Don't even get me started on how easy they treat Silver Age versus moderns. Okay, so right off the bat, Mephistopheles is talking about the consistency at CGC. Let's take a few more comments. I will respond to that. There's too many horror stories of people getting 8.5s, cracking, resubmitting as is, and getting 9.6 and 9.8. I'm going to tell you something straight up. Mephistopheles Ghost, it's happened. It's happened right here. It's happened right here. Not very often, but it does happen. Nick Parker says, "Hey Doc, how are you tonight?" Thanks for asking, Nick. I'm doing pretty good. Pretty tired. I'm gonna hit after this stream, guys. I'm going to lie down and go to bed. I want an early night time for this guy tonight. I'm zonked. P-Man's here. How you doing, P-Man? Good to see you. D-Hyde says, "Highest." Nick Parker everyone's saying hello. So everyone's so friendly. So why wouldn't you want to subscribe and be a part of this community? Hit the subscribe button, guys, my friend. Brian Bowman's here as well. Brian, how's it going? Your books are being sent out probably early next week. FYI. That Hombre's here. Forget the grading. I just got 21 out of 25 books back. Get a 9.8 grade from my screen, and CGC completely slab damaged one of them. I will take pics and hopefully get a credit. Oh, you will. They'll take care of you. Bad Hombre sends his own books in. Precious Books, he sends them in himself on his own account. Stories like that make me feel good keeping my books raw. Yes and no. I mean, we've had that conversation before. Is it wise to get your books graded or not? Again, what are your motivations for getting them graded? And we can talk a bit about that later as well. All CGC is going to do is move 9.6 to 9.8, and such the 9.9 is a new 10. I hope not, D-Hyde, because that's going to really F a lot of people up if that's the case. They've already, I've said this before, they've already established what a 9.8 is, what a 9.9 is, what a 10 is. To all of a sudden now start introducing a plethora of 9.9s and 10s would be crappy on their part. Again, unless they start doing it with books from a certain year. Like they say, okay, starting today on books from 2023 and on, or 2024, and on, 9.9s and 10s are going to be more of a reality. That's a different story. So we know that the books have been graded previously are going to be maintained. We'll talk about that in a bit. Bad Armor, this is my plan moving forward. My PC is going raw only. CGC will be reselling comics to pay for my raw copies. I am done with CGC, just whoring it with them to make money. Okay. Nick says, in theory, it is good to maximize the value of your collection, but I still think flipping through my books, I still like to flip through my books every so often. That's fair. Eric, welcome, my friend, from Michigan. Thanks for popping by. Good to see you. Asher Lucky says, "Hey, Doc, how are we doing?" I'm doing great, Asher Lucky. Thanks for asking. Bad Hombre, if your CGC sales cover the cost of themselves and your raw copies, then that is the best. Of course, you can use CGC to maximize those profits for sure. If you know what you're doing. William Azur says, "Have a Hulk 181 graded an 8.0, never pressed or cleaned, just not sure if I should risk cracking it and trying to get graded again." Well, William, I'm happy to help you figure that out. I just talked to one of my clients today from Texas who called me this afternoon, or this morning, I think it was, and we discussed, he sent about 4 or 5 books to be CPR'd. I sent 4 of the 6 back to him, because I felt the 4 that he wanted me to crack, I didn't think it was a wise decision to do that. Again, yeah, I could have cracked him and charged him and made some money on those books, but I'd rather him be happy than mad at me. And when people send me books, I think that they're asking also for my opinion and what I think would be a wise move in that regard. I'm not always 100% right. Sometimes maybe I should have cracked all those books. Maybe he would have got a jumping grade. I just didn't feel the jumping grade would have warranted doing all the work and paying all that money out, unless you're going to see a real significant jump. But 2 of the books he did send, I felt very confident about, and then so we did them. But the others, I did not. So Yeah, again, very happy to help you, William, figure that out if you need some advice. Hey, James. James is here, Real Hyperion. Hey, Kevin, I've noticed modern books are getting graded harsher, and it's harder to get 9.8s. What's going on with that? What's going on with that? CGC just recently released a YouTube video attempting to demo how the grades 9.8 versus 9.9 versus 10. Unfortunately for CGC, it bolsters the inconsistency argument and the idea of relative grading. We're gonna dive into that a little more thoroughly in just a few moments. Let's have some fun. Look at some more books first, and then we'll. I only have one box, like I said. I've got some magazines in this box with a pretty cool one too. Let's just keep going here. All right, get my invoices out of there so we don't lose them. We get another stack of books out here for you guys. All right, okay. If you guys like classic X-Men, vintage X-Men, you've come to the right place. Here's a first appearance of the Banshee. X-Men 27 to 3.0, again with a custom label. We've got, I think this one is Mike's. A 5.5 copy of The Witching Hour. I think he bought this from me, actually. 5.5, number 28. Pretty classic cover with Christmas Santa Claus there. That's a pretty sick cover right there. A lot of these books are starting to pump in value, too. We've got a... Okay, now these are Steven's books. They came back fast. Holy cow. Steven, you watching? We've got Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 15 and a 9.6. Was hoping for a 9.8 on both of these, especially on that one. Thought that was kind of warranted. And this one here is a 9.6, a number 14. Right there. So Steven's books are back. That's good. And yeah, the moderns are coming back very quickly, guys. Sometimes in a week they're coming back. What do we have here? We got a golden record reprint, it looks like. Fantastic Four, number 1. Right there, and an 8.5. We have a Flash number 148. And a 5.0. And we have a Green Lantern number 82. It's Neil Adams cover, I believe, is it? Yes, it is. Black Canary appearance and a 4.5. And then one more. Actually, I'll do all the rest of the comics, and we'll end with the magazines after our discussion. Again, guys, let me hear what you think. I already heard a bunch of you talk about CGC's consistency. What do you think? If you're just getting here right now, what are your experiences with CGC having books graded? Do you think they are consistent? Yes or no? And if what are your reasonings for that? All right. Fantastic Four annual number 6 and a 6.5. That was a huge book about a year ago. Still seeing it come in from time to time. We also have a copy of Tales from the Crypt number 44 from 1954 in a 3.5 as I'm running out of room. And then finally, we have a 7.5 copy of Avengers number 4 of the Golden Records reprint as well. Nice copy of that as well. Look at that right there. I actually have the originals of these over there, and you'll see them on my Instagram my Instagram page because I'm posting the before and afters. All right, there we go. Let's talk now, my friends, about the CGC consistency debate. Some of you have already piped up. James just said, well, you know what? I'm noticing that their grading for modern books has been getting relatively harsh. They're getting harder. And I'll be honest, I know a lot of people that send books in on a regular basis, and I can honestly say I hear from time to time, kind of like what James just said there, they give me their 2 cents worth on how CGC is grading. Like 1 month, they're grading moderns very easily, and the next month, they're grading them really hard, and the next month, they're grading them really easily. And you know what? I've had people, when books come back to me here sometimes, modern books especially, and they're not getting the 9.8s or the 9.6s, I used to make comments, come on. People would go, what do you expect? They're all going to be 9.8s? Come on, man. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't expect them to all be 9.8s. We hope for them, because these are not my books, right? These are client books. I'm always very hopeful that my client books will come back 9.8. But, yeah, sometimes sometimes you see a lot of 9.6s. A lot of 9.6s. And you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? Because, any grader would tell you, if you got a 9.6, that 9.6 could easily have been a 9.4, and it probably could have been a 9.8 in some cases, one way or the other. So, but just to get down to brass tacks and to say, you know, what do I personally think they are consistent? I can say this. I don't know exactly how many graders are at CGC. I can only imagine there's a shit ton of graders. There has to be. For the amount of books, especially modern books that are going through that place, they must have a lot of graders there. Because of that, I'm thinking, who's grading these books? Who's grade? Like, what are their credentials to grade books? Are they all, 50-year-old guys like me who've been doing this since I was 14 years old? Or are they 20-something-year-old college students who have an interest or maybe no interest in comics and just have a little sliding scale or a little booklet on how to grade comics that they refer to when they're grading a book? And I hate to say it, I have a feeling it's the latter. I think it's the latter. Again, what's happening there behind closed doors is unbeknownst. I have no clue what's going on over there. I never worked there. I've never toured the facility. I don't know how they're doing things. But I can only assume that, a 52-year-old man like myself wouldn't work for minimum wage to grade books. I don't think so. And the only people that are going to work for that kind of wage would probably be young people, either students or young people who are starting out and need a paycheck. And so that does concern me. And when I hear that, how can you be super consistent? How can you be super consistent? And as one of our subscribers mentioned earlier, he's heard too often that an 8.5 is cracked and reset and comes back a 9.6 or 9.8. I can tell you from experience, yeah, that has happened. But can that just be chalked up as a bad day at the office, right? Is someone who's new at grading, like, they're going to have new people working there, right? My daughter right now is working at a new job, and she's new. She's brand new. She's not going to be excellent at it right away. It's going to take her a few weeks to get her groove, right, at the job she's working at. So what do we expect? You're gonna sometimes run into those hiccups. It's a corporation that has these types of will have these ups and downs. So to be perfectly consistent all the time, I think is an impossibility. I don't think you can even expect that from them. To expect them to be perfect all the time, I don't think so. So I think it's hard to be 100%. So you go to McDonald's and you get a burger, and it's the same from one McDonald's to another. Yeah, that's a system they have in place. But, creating a hamburger is pretty objective. You got a pretty, a set way of building it. You go to buy, you go to General Motors, you go on the line, you can hire someone and teach them how to screw in a bolt at a certain torque, and they're going to do the exact same job every day. So the cars are going to come out exactly, well, they should come out perfect, right? Or as close to perfect as possible if they follow those instructions. Grading a comic book is not like that. Because what I see and what you see and what the other person sees and what that guy sees is very different. So I think it's almost impossible. Like, you have that guy, you mentioned, Brian mentioned that gentleman at Cgc was doing that video. It's a pretty good, I watched that video. You can check that out on the Cgc website where he talks about, differentiating between a 9.9, a 9.8, and a 10. It's a good video to watch, but even still, he might see something that I don't agree with and vice versa. And I've been doing this just as long as he has, probably longer. I think I'm older than that guy. So, but yeah, so are they consistent? I think for the most part they are, but to be 100% accurate all the time, I think that's an impossibility. Let's see what you guys are saying. So Brian said, CGC just recently reviewed, we did that already. Nick says, I've never CGC'd any of my books. I was curious about it, and that was part of the reason I love Doc's channel. That is just something that I could not afford to do. It is not, again, it's not a cheap undertaking, and that is one of the reasons why I kind of insist on, especially for newbies who are new to having their books cleaned and pressed and graded, to come in and spend some time with me, and we go through your collection to kind of temper your expectations and to kind of show you, the kind of grades you're probably going to expect. For the untrained eye, for someone who's never done this before, looking at a book that looks good, which is probably a 4 or a 5, that's not a 9.8. And they have a hard time figuring that out. So I like to sit down with people before they spend the money, Nicholas, and figure out which books are actually worth doing. Cretan Bull says, CBCS has similar problems. Someone recently cracked open a CBCS 8, had it signed, resubmitted to CBCS for a yellow label, and it came back a 9.4. No cleaning or pressing. It was an 8. So someone was new there. Like, someone had an off day at the office, right? And by the way, as I say this about CGC, I think what I'm saying can be applied to CBCS. listen, the only way you're gonna guarantee consistency is you have the same person grading all the books all the time. Again, that's an impossibility. You can't expect one person to grade thousands upon thousands upon thousands of books and get the job done quickly or efficiently. That's impossible. You have to bring people in. It's almost kind of what I had to go through. I'm not comparing myself to CGC. Believe me, I'm not anywhere near that. But as business started getting busier, I couldn't keep up personally. And you guys who have been with me for a long time know that my wait times were extremely long, and I was pretty stressed out because I couldn't find anyone to help me that I trusted. And yeah, you have to expand, right? And but the one thing that we're doing at the shop now, which is what CGC claims to do, is that all of us at the shop look at the books. Not one of us will work on a book and then just send it off. Well, maybe I'll do it. I'll be honest. If I'm working on your books, I'm probably going to work on them solely and then send them off when I feel they're ready. But when working at the shop, I look at all Napoor's book. I look at all Charlo's books. We all kind of share in that communal review of the book to see if it could handle some more work. That's important. It's important that I look at the book because I've done this for a long time, and I can see a problem with a book that they may not think could be fixed, but I'm pretty sure it can be fixed. And I'll give them suggestions on how to do it or tell them to take it a little farther. When they do, it comes back usually perfect. I'm very happy with it. But CGC used to do that too. They used to have every book would go by 3 graders. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe that CGC has 3 graders looking at every single book. What do you think? I think that's impossible. Again, another impossibility. Carlos here. How you doing, Carlo? Warren's here as well. Cretan Bull says, what happened there? What happened, Cretan Bull? Did I lose your... Okay, what happened there? I just lost you there. I'll find it. Hold on. I think it really jumped there. Wow. Holy cow. There you are. As for CGC, I have a Fantastic 449 that was graded an 8.0, and there's no way in hell it's an 8.0. I was expecting a 7, praying for a lucky 7.5. Look, I got a couple of 9.6s back the other day from last week that the owner, actually, I'm not going to mention which book it was. If you want to watch the video, you can go ahead and watch it. But he came into the shop on Saturday, not to pick up the books, just to come. He was coming in with a buddy of his, and he talked about that book, and we both thought this book's going to get a 9, maybe 9.6. It came back, and if you saw the video last Tuesday, you saw me react to it. I'm like, what the hell, 9.6? Are they out to lunch? So yeah, man, I don't. What can I? I guess if it happens, it's great, but it's great for you, but it's probably not too good for the buyer, the future buyer. Luis Mendoza, yo, what's up, Doc? How you doing, Luis? Good to see you, pal. Nick says, I do have a question, Doc. Wolverine, Wolverine really the world's finest Canadian? Oh, is Wolverine really the world's first Canadian superhero? Inquiring mind. No, he's not. Remember, there were Canadian comics being made during the golden age. So we have there's a lot of and I'm not going to be able to go into which ones are which. Maybe some of you guys who are much more well-versed on this can go into this. I know I've pressed lots of books that were printed in Canada in the 1940s and 50s that were featuring Canadian writers. Hey, you could even argue, you could argue that Superman was a Canadian character, even though he was, from Metropolis and all that sort of in Kansas. But the creators of Superman were both, I believe, from Montreal originally. So you could argue that, right? Sam says, I saw a video on YouTube where a collector cracked books, sent them to back to CGC untouched, and they came back higher graded. That's inconsistent. Yeah, you're right. But let me ask you this question. Sam, how high did they go? Like, I talked about, someone earlier on mentioned a book went from an 8 to a 9.6. Yeah, that's friggin' inconsistent. Without a shadow of a doubt, you're right. 100% inconsistent. But if I've got a 9.0 and I'm sending it back to CGC and it comes back a 9.2 or an 8.5, or a 9, even a 9.4, that's I think can be half a grade up or a full grade up, full grade down. I think it's okay. If it's jumping up 3 or 4 grades without being pressed or cleaned, yeah, what the hell's going on there, quality control? What the hell's going on there? But I really do, and I also do believe that CGC has a huge turnaround with employees. I can't imagine they grew exponentially during COVID. We all know that. I don't know if they're still hiring over there. I think they are, to be honest. And look, when you have new people coming in, you're going to get inconsistent results. And a new grader isn't going to be top notch first off, right off the bat. I do think people can be trained to non-collectors, non-comic book geeks like us can be trained on how to grade a book. I don't think it's the best way. I don't think they're the best people for the job, mind you, but they can certainly be taught a checklist or whatever and give a certain grade. But yeah, I think that inconsistency comes with growth. I think when the company grows, you're going to have growing pains, and some of those pains are going to be inconsistency. Even with all the shipping nonsense I've gone through, I really do believe when the shipping problems happen, it's because new guys are there. When we were having all those cracked slabs a year and a half ago, I would bet 100% that they had new guys working on those encapsulation machines, and they were putting too much pressure on those slabs, causing all those micro cracks. And I said that before. I said that I'm sure someone knew that working on that machine, or the machine's not been calibrated properly. I know they'd purchased new machines, I've been told. So, learning curves. When you have learning curves, some problems happen. And what are they going to do? They're going to shut down the operations for 30 days or 60 days to get everybody up to speed? Bullshit. They're going to keep, what? To them, it's better just to keep moving. Mistakes happen. We'll fix the mistakes as people complain. People complain, send the books back. Look, if you don't like a grade that they've given you, you can always contact them. They're going to say send the book back, and you can kind of put an appeal in. And if they agree with you, they won't charge you. But if they feel that the grade that they gave the book was accurate, which you're probably going to stand behind 9 times out of 10, you got to pay to have the book regraded. So in that case, to me, you're better off to crack it and send it back in again. I know in fact, a couple of books I'm sending back, I sent back already. We did just that. We just cracked them out and sent it back. We just didn't agree with the grade. So you just send it back and see what happens, right? Nick says, oops, there was a typo. Yeah, I got that. Sam says, Nicholas, he is not. Look up Novana and Northern Lights. There you go. I knew somebody else would bring that up. Thanks, Sam. The P-Man, I don't get enough graded for an opinion except what I send to you, Doc. What's your opinion? Yeah, and I think I went through that. They can be, I think most of the time, they're consistent, but I think they go through periods of inconsistency, which many of you already talked about, and I've seen recently too. But the same time I see inconsistency with the grading, I'm also seeing problems in shipping. Like in the other logistics of the whole operation, I see other problems. Like, when I tell them to ship books to a client directly and the books come back to me, and I lay it out clear, guys, I'm telling you, I put like all I could do is put, short of putting fireworks showing them, don't send the books to me directly, send them to my client, and they still send them back to me. Like that kind of absent-minded, careless mistake that I'm seeing, to me, comes from somebody who is new. That's what I think. So, and don't think for a second they're not hiring new graders, and that's probably why you're getting these inconsistencies. And you're probably going to notice that more with modern books. They're not going to put, I don't think they're going to put a brand new grader on, on doing like, AF-15s and key Silver Age, Golden Age books. Those are going to go to the more senior graders, I would think. I think Captain Canuck was first Canadian superhero back in the 40s. Oh, was there a Captain Canuck back in the 40s too, Peter? I was going to say Captain Canuck, but I'm thinking of the new Captain Canuck. Marvel lied about him being the first Canadian superhero. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Do I have something to... Hold on, I'm going to see if I got something for you guys. Hold on, I'm going to show you something funny. Don't know if it's here. I had something funny to show you guys, but I can't find it really quick, so I'll try to bring it back next week. You're talking about Canadian superheroes. I was going to show you the ultimate Canadian superhero, but I don't have it handy. Sorry. Mephistopheles Go says, my last 25 sub all got white pages, and there were some that were definitely not white. I think someone got lazy. Yeah. Captain Canuck came out in 75. Yeah, and so he came out after Wolverine. Eric McGowan says, last year I sent my Amazing Spider-Man Volume 230 to my local comic shop to get graded by CGC. The owner guessed it would be graded a 9.496. Got back a 7.5. The shop owner was completely shocked. Look, we've been there. Like, other things that could go wrong, right? Like consistency-wise, damage on the books, and that's another sign of newbies handling our books. I just sent a magazine, a TMNT magazine, back for Steven because it came back with damage. I didn't want to send the book back to them. I didn't want them to do the pressing because I knew they would do a shitty job. I just knew it. The dent was pretty significant, so we repressed it, sent it, and it's hopefully going to be back sooner rather than later. So, but that wasn't the only damage. I got another damage. You guys saw the ASM 361 a few weeks back that had to go back and is still there. That one, the damage wasn't quite so dramatic, so they offered to do the pressing, so we'll see what that looks like when they're done. Pop staples I've been seeing quite a bit of, more than usual. I've seen 2 or 3 pop staples. And I know it's not us because in a couple of cases, the owners saw the books before we sent them. They came back with pop staples. So yeah, so that kind of nonsense is happening too. Again, I really do believe you're getting those kind of problems at CGC because of new people working there. I mean, that's the only sense I can make of it. You know, is that people are just not vested in their job. They don't know what they're doing. You know, it's even like my son Jack, who's bagging and boarding I got a huge collection. I'm having them bag and board. Having him bag and board quite slowly. I taught him how to bag and board. You know what I'm talking. Bagging and boarding, there's a way of doing it, right, guys? We all know. If you've been collecting as long as I have, you know that you don't want any air in the bag, and there's certain ways of getting the air out of the bag so it sits nice and taut in the box. So I trained him how to do that. And the first 20 or 30, he was like, but now he's a pro. 13-year-old pro at bagging and boarding comics, right? It takes time. So grading books, being as subjective as it is, right? That's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing, especially if you don't know comic books. Like any one of us who's been collecting for a long time, if we went to CGC and they trained us, you know, Peter's in here, I notice, and Mike's in here, and you know, a lot of you guys I know very well, who've been collecting for a long time, you know as well as I do. If you were at CGC and they said, listen, this is how we're going to do it. This is how you're going to grade the book. Here's our criteria. You're going to say, okay, you're going to process that, and you're going to understand that criteria quite well. And you're there, and you're going to grade those books pretty consistently to their standards, right? But because, again, don't tell me for a second that all those people working there are comic book collectors. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Look, I go to comic stores, and I see who comes to my comic store. I don't see a lot of 20-somethings coming. I see some, but not a lot. So if they're getting all these guys working there and girls working there, girls especially, I hate to say it again, I love my ladies, but let's be honest, how many, you know, since my shop opened, I think 3 women have come into my shop, right? So it's a male-dominated hobby. You know, I don't know. It just is. Sorry to tell you. That's the way it goes. Look at my friggin' demographics on YouTube. I think I've got, you know, to the 2,500 guys, I've got like 1 or 2 girls subscribed. So there you go. Maybe if I look like Chris Hemsworth, I'd have more. I don't know. Perhaps. I think I look pretty good, but maybe not enough to get those subs. All right. What else you guys saying here? Here we go. Nick says, once they perfect human cloning, we need them to make at least 200 clones of Doc so he can start his own gray. Oh, sure. Never going to happen. Never. You know, sometimes I get the delusions of grandeur and I think, maybe I should. No, it's not going to happen. Just, my God, that would be a nightmare. Now, would I spearhead some kind of CGC operation up here if they wanted me to? Yes. Yeah, I'd probably consider that. But I don't want to, you know, go through all the hassle of creating slabs, and I don't want to start from scratch. I'm just too old for that now. I don't want to. Too old and too tired. I was completely disappointed. I bought that issue off the rack and bagged it right away, kept it in the box and rebagged after 10 years, and for it to be a 7.5 was just crazy. Eric, there's got to be grader's notes on that, right? 7.5, what do they say? I bet there's a lot of finger dents, right? Bad Hombre, I would rather perfect humanity first. Why bother perfecting cloning to continue getting more shit humans? Hey, what are you shit humans? He said clone me. Mike, he said to clone me, man. What are you talking about? Karen Racer, better late than never. How you doing? Love the content, Kevin. Keep it up. You're doing great. Thank you, Karen Racer. Appreciate it. Please tell your friends about me. I'm trying to get my numbers up. Got some more ideas percolating in my head there to do more. I didn't bring anybody on today. I was too tired, guys. And I promise when June rolls around, I'll start bringing guests back again. I am working on a show with 3 guests at one time. My gosh. Talking exclusively about Canadian price variance. I've got the 3 foremost brains that will talk about that. And I look forward to that probably in the near future. We're just getting our technology aligned, and then we'll go through with that. But thanks for being here, Karen Racer. Nick says, everybody wants the most perfect copy of the book they love. Of course. There's a huge difference between 9.2 and 9.8. If you cannot tell the difference, you are not very good at grading. Yeah. There are some pretty big telling tales, that's for sure. Peter G., it was Johnny Canuck in the 40s. My mistake on this. There you go. Johnny Canuck, 1940s. Predates Logan. Nick Parker, I would love for humanity to be perfect too. Let's just say I won't be holding my breath for that to happen. Jabez Creed says, Hombre, not saying there's no difference, but the shifts are so small from one category to another. Again, my eyes are sharp, currently shooting laser beams. I hit my grade I want most of the time. And you know what? I will give Bad Hombre credit where credit is due. He submitted 25 books to me to be graded. Now, again, he does his own grading, but we press the books. And they all had problems that needed to be rectified, but problems that could be rectified. And as Nupur and I were going through the books, we're like, oh my God, these are all like a lot of Bronze Age books, right? Like late 70s, early 80s, and they were just hitting the mark. Like I would have been totally not surprised if they had all come back. Excuse me. 9.8s. They were absolutely gorgeous books. So he does have very good eyes to pick out those 9.8s. And there's a few of you guys out there that I work with who have very, very sharp eyes. Jason Helens, who sometimes this year is really quite good at it. To name another, who's just can pick out those 9.8s, man. Very good eyes. Let's keep going here. Brian says, whoa, something jumped up there. Nick, maybe there's an unboxing today. Oh, what the heck happened there? Sorry, guys. It just bounced for some reason. It jumped. In theory, CGC... Okay. Brian says, in theory, CGC has multiple people blind grade the same book to create consistency through the law of averages, but their lack of transparency raises questions to whether that actually happens. That's just it. Listen, I'm telling you, if they were doing what you just said there, if they did have 3 graders doing every single book, and the law of averages, you think it's an 8, I think it's an 8, and Buddy thinks it's a 7.5, the book's an 8, right? That's kind of the way it goes. But are they doing that? And I really don't think they are. They don't tout that too much anymore. You don't hear that. You used to hear that 3 grader policy being touted a few years ago. Don't hear it much anymore, and I just doubt it happens. Because it takes time, man. It takes time. Nick says, I hope Doc is okay. I hope so too. Peter G., there was also Nelvana and the Northern Lights in 1941. There you go. Another Canadian hero. Jabez Creed. Am I saying it right? Jabez Creed says, agree, hombre, but the grader has most of the time too. Well, you hope they do. And again, are they new graders? Are they novice graders? Or are they seasoned graders? That could be a difference. Sam says, Peter G. Nelvana was 1941. Johnny Canuck was 42. So lots of Canadian. I knew there were lots of Canadian heroes because I've done a lot of those Canadian Whites, those magazines or those comic books, and I've done tons of Canadian comic books. Bad Hombre says, Nick Park, maybe there is no unboxing, and Doc just thought it would be fun for his members to banter. Oh, wait, I did unboxing. I did a whole bunch of books, but we're not done yet. All right, let's get back to it. We'll come back here in just a second. Next. Now we have books that you want to talk about consistency. We paid for Express Fast Track magazines. These were not fast passed at all. WWF Wrestling Action from 1977, #1. That's a pretty rare book. We also have a Sports Illustrated. Just make sure there's no cracks on these. Is all we need. We got a Sports Illustrated number 5, volume 61 from July 23rd of 84 with Michael Jordan, Olympic Michael Jordan. We also have, this has become a pretty popular book as well, a 7.5 copy of from 1984, December the 10th, also a Michael Jordan book. This is a pretty hot book as well, hot magazine. That's right, guys, we do magazines as well, and they have become quite popular. Oh, where am I going to put it down here? We also have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1, second printing. And that's from 1984, and that's in a 9.2. And that goes along with, this one came with a Raphael, which has also seen an increase in value. A Raphael number 1 and an 8.0. Right there. And last but not least, pretty cool book. Also, 9/8 white pager. You gotta love it. A Nightmare on Elm Street, number 1, is it? Number 1 from 1989 in a 9.8. And guys, you know, I get so impressed when I see magazines of this caliber and this type of grade because, let's face it, these magazines were chewed up and beat up and usually wrecked, right? They were not as easy to store as, say, our comic books. They're bigger, they're more awkward, they're fatter. But look at that one right there, guys. Freddy Krueger in all his glory right there. Beautiful. Pretty sexy looking artwork there. Awesome. Fright-filled first issue. So congratulations. I'm gonna post that one on my Instagram because it's so cool. It's so cool, guys. That's 25. If you want to take off, you can. I'm gonna keep going with some of these questions though. If you have any more comments to make about CGC's consistency, please let me know. I'll go for another 10 minutes or so, and then I will take off as well. Show more books. Yeah, I just did it. Louis said, Captain Canuck is my favorite Canadian superhero. I just love the cover of that first book. It is pretty cool. I saw one yesterday, actually. Perhaps Doc is here in chat under a different name and is just curious to see how people behave. No, I'm here. Cretan Bull says, presumably the new graders are handling the new books where they're deciding if a book is 9.6 or 9.8. They can't be handling valuable Silver Age books, can they? Well, I think eventually they'll graduate to that, I would assume, but they're going to start them slow, I would assume, and they're going to start them on low-value books because not only are they probably not very good graders, they probably can't handle the books all that well. I mean, physically handle the books. So they want them damaging new books or damaging books that are like, you know, $100, $200, $500, $1,000. So it only makes sense. And then Jabez Creed, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the channel and myself. I do appreciate that. Are most of your pressing submissions from Silver Age, Bronze Age, or Copper? Well, I don't know. I think based on what you are seeing from week to week, I think most people would agree that it's probably modern books. Modern books are probably the bulk. And then I would say Silver Age Marvels more consistently come in after that. For sure. And when you say bronze and copper, that's what I'm referring to that as modern. Right? I'm thinking, you know, late 70s up till now. That is probably the bulk of the submissions, and a lot of people, newbies, I don't need these. I get calls all the time where guys, I got a collection from the 80s, but you know, I bought them, I bagged them, boarded them, and put them away. I haven't touched them in like 30, 35 years. They probably don't need a press. I'm like, yeah, they probably do. You know, and they're like, really? I don't see how they could use a press. I haven't touched them in such a long time. I'm like, well, you bring the books in, and if they don't need a press, we'll determine that together. But let me show you what could hinder your book from getting that 9.6, 9.8, that high grade that you probably want. And, you know, again, 9 times out of 10, the books need a press. They've been moved, they've been shifted, and probably bought, when they were bought off the shelf, they probably weren't perfect. And then they were red. You get finger dents on there, you know. People forget that stuff. But luckily, most of the problems can be fixed. Again, Jabez Creed, appreciate the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Peter says, I understand Joe Shuster had Clark Kent originally work for the Daily Star, as Joe had lived in Toronto. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Metropolis was taken from Metropolitan Toronto. Interesting. I didn't know that. I learned something new every day right here on the Comic Doctor channel, thanks to Peter. Dave says, hey Doc, my problem with the grading consistency is that there is these pre-screens which are basically paid grade bumps. Now they're talking about 9.9. How many of these 9.8s are 9.9s? Probably lots. I'm not going to lie. Probably a shit ton. You know, we just talked about Michael's books that all came back. 23 to 25 came back. Bad Hombre's books came back pre-screen 9.8, 23 to 25. You're telling me that not one of those 23 books could have been a 9.9? Maybe a 10? Come on, man. For sure. Yeah, exactly. That is why it is imperative that they do not start introducing this whole baloney 9.9, 10.0 nonsense. That can really throw the hobby. It could really make it start unraveling, because everybody's been paying so much for these 9.8s, because let's face it, the 9.8s are our 10s, and to have a 9.9 or a 10 is a very, very special book. So you can't expect it will throw everything up it'll screw everything up. That CGC is established from day friggin' one. That's what pisses me off about all this. They started this. They've established what a 9.8 means to collectors. So to all of a sudden change the rules this far in, that's bullshit. That'd be really crappy if they did that. I couldn't remember Peter, but I thought it might have been Toronto. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Nick says, do we think the Doc came across some bad Putin? No. Poutine? No, I'm okay, man. I'm doing good. Just tired. They said, whoops. Spine damage, eh? Send me some pictures. I want to see some pictures of this book of yours, Eric, and I want to see if I agree if it's a 7.5 or not. Bad Hombre, oops, I thought he meant cloning humanity as a whole, but not you, my comic doctor. Thanks, Bad Hombre. Just make 200 clones of Doc. We really need him to get his own slab. No, I'm not doing that. I don't keep saying that. Woo! Hope that's mine. I don't know, Ranger for Collector. I am not sure. Which one? Ranger for Collector. Which one? Which book? If it's one of if it's this one, if it's that magazine, it probably is yours, because that's the only one I've got here. Just got here. Is that my Ralph? LOL. I don't know. Turtle Power. GTA Lady. Very cool. How you doing, GTA Lady? Nick Parker. Wow. Doc show has been running. It never came on for me. What do you mean? That's weird. Kevin, MVP, have you had any success with multiple copies of the same book, like 5 to 10 to 20 copies? Yeah. Well, what I do, I have. I've sent multiple copies of the same book. The biggest order was prior to Infinity War coming out. I had that Infinity Gauntlet issue with Thanos, and one of my clients had like 50 issues that someone told him that he had pressed, and he shipped it off to Cgc'S. And they all came back like 8.5, 9.2, 9.0, 9.4, 9.6, no 9.8s. So I cracked every single one out, and every single one was not pressed. Someone had lied to him, told him he'd pressed the books, took his money, and ran. So we cracked all the books out of these Cgc'S. Took forever. Cracking out of slabs, guys, takes forever. Especially when you have that many. You're talking about several hours, right? So we cracked them all out. I pressed every single one. And I'm not joking, guys. They all came back 9.8. Every single one. Like 40 issues. My presses were full of Infinity War books. And they all came back 9.8. But yeah, I think if you have multiple copies, you got to be a little cautious. If they are really identical, they're really identical to each other, then I think it's safe to send them in. But if you have, say, 5 copies of ASM 300, and they're all beautiful books, but they all have just little variations, say they all could be 9.8 contenders, I would not send them all in at the same time. In fact, I just did that with Carlo. He bought 2 really beautiful copies of ASM 300. I saw them both and went, holy cow, these are gorgeous. But one was slightly nicer than the other, right? But it was nicer. So to me, if I had sent those two books in at the exact same time, that grader would have had both those books in front of them. And they would have saw the one as a 9.8, and maybe, just maybe, they would have noticed the same thing I did and say, you know what, we're going to drop this other one down to a 9.6 when this book should be a 9.8 as well. In fact, the one that got a 9.8 should be a 9.9. That's how nice it was. There was nothing wrong with this book. It was absolutely stunning. Anyways, long story short, we got the first one back. It did come back a 9.8, and now I'm planning to send the other one in. So with his next order, that way, gives the grader a break. They don't see this. They don't see the same book. But again, if you've got, say, 30 copies of Wolverine #1, which I've done like lots of those at one time, or 15 copies of Secret Wars #1 or Secret Wars #8, and they're all like pretty identical, yeah, I'd be okay sending them in. But on a high value book, if there are some discrepancies between the two, I would stagger the submission. That's what I would do. Karen Racer says, quick comic industry pulse check. Are you seeing an upswing in submissions? I'm seeing a small bump in pricing on some books, flat in most cases, and some continue to slide. Of course, you. I am seeing a huge uptick in submissions. Every week at my shop, I'm getting submissions. The show wasn't I didn't see a lot of books come in at the show. I got about maybe 100 books at the show. It wasn't really much. It was one of the slowest shows I'd ever been to. But weekly at my shop, I have people coming in. I've got guys mailing books to me. I've got local dealers dropping books off, like hundreds of books at one time. So yeah, there is no shortage of books. And I do agree. I think certain books are starting to look at this time last year. I was really nervous. This time last year, I started noticing the trend where things stopped coming in, submissions stopped coming in. Everybody was kind of, putting on the brakes where comics were concerned. Then I started noticing it shift in like around early January. I started noticing the submissions starting to come back in again. And I thought that the show was going to be much busier than it was. But I have a feeling the next show is going to be busier because, prices have stabilized. Some books are starting to go up again. And people are speculating, which we all love to do, that. And so, I think everyone was, last year just kind of slapped us a little bit, kind of shocked everybody when the prices dropped down. Look, an X-Men #1 and a 4.5 dropped from 32,000 to 15,000, right? That's a big friggin', that's more than 50% off, right? So a lot of books really took a hit. And because of that, a lot of people lost some money. If you bought 2 years ago and you try to sell now, you're in the red, right? So that scared a lot of people. It especially scared those people who jumped into the hobby simply to make a quick buck. If you jumped in during COVID and you bought high, you're feeling that right now. I get it. And so a lot of people put on the brakes. But to answer your question, yes, I am seeing an uptick. So that's a good thing. Because I felt I was one of the first to kind of notice the slowdown last year too. But in regards to us at the shop, I'm happy to report that we are getting submissions quite regularly, and I'm seeing a trend upwards again, which I'll be honest, guys, I moved to a new shop last August, and at that time, things were kind of doing this. We're kind of going down, and I was like, this is a good time to move to a new shop, more rent. I was kind of freaking out a little bit. We all kind of were, but everything worked out. In fact, the slowdown was kind of nice because it gave us a chance to catch up. This time last year, my turnaround time was 7-8 months. Now my turnaround time is kind of where I want it to be. Maybe a little shorter would be nice. I'm at around 3.5 months right now, which is great for me. I've never been at this pace for a long time. Things are looking good. Thanks for the explanation. Makes sense that there is a sweet spot of age and popularity driving the trends. Oh, for sure. And they're also affordable, right? Modern books are affordable more. Kevin Pedersen, where have you been? Where have you been, Kevin? How's it going? Might be seeing you this summer. We're finally talking about a California trip, flying into San Francisco and driving all the way down to San Diego. 2-week excursion. Thinking about it. It's been coming up quite a bit. Ranger for Collectors, Nightmare on Elm Street's yours. It's yours because that's the only one I've got. So congratulations, 9.8 white pager. That's yours, the Ranger for Collectors. Turtle Power E2, dang, gonna have to watch after and see if my other TMNT book was in your pile. Literally just started watching and Raphael was on the table. It could be yours. I don't know. A GTA lady, a range of collectors, any Halloween mags. Looking for Halloween mags. Kevin, looking for first appearance, 4-color or cartoon characters. Oh, Kevin's hooked. Kevin's hooked. Kevin, you want to talk to Troy? I don't know if he's still here or not, but he's into those four. He has a lot of those 4 colors. Troy, you want to sell those 4 colors? Talk to Kevin. He's hot. He's hot. He's hot for those 4-color Dells right now. Hey Doc, just sent you a pics. I'll have a look when I get off the stream. A Ranger says, GTA lady, yes, many old new stock, some still in open boxes. Boom. Guys, hook it up. Make sales happen. Damn, I think those are my TMNT books. They could be. Kevin MPV, you're more than welcome. Mike, the Toronto Comic Con looked fun. The Toronto Comic Con, I went for one day and I spent way too much money on artwork. You guys saw the artwork on my Instagram. That's what I've been doing now when I go to these shows. I kind of hang around Artists Alley. I didn't really shop for deals. I kind of just jumped in. I saw 2 that I really liked and I just bought them. I got to be a little bit more frugal and haggle a little more, I think. But I was happy to go. Jack had a great time. Bought a lot of video games there. And it wasn't too busy on Friday night. Went for a nice dinner. We got there around 2:30. Hung around for a couple hours. Went for a bite to eat. Went back in. And then we kind of stayed there to the end. By the time it was over, it was like 7:30. No traffic all the way home. It was perfect. It was fun. I did it. It was probably my most enjoyable Toronto Comic Con. Last year we went on Saturday and it was an absolute shit show. It was so busy. You couldn't move. It was so busy. But this time there was actually elbow room, which I really liked. Mike says, oh, I did that. Adam's here. How you doing, Adam? Just waiting for the come and get your books text. Yeah, well, these guys, again, these will not be ready until I text you. My daughter will sort these probably not tomorrow, probably on Thursday. Or maybe I'll do them. It's only 1 box. Maybe I'll sort them tomorrow. And if I have a chance, I'll do that. And then I'll let you all know. Guys, that'll do it. Let me go to my main screen here. Thank you for popping by. I hope you enjoyed that unboxing. We had some magazines, which you don't usually have, which was great. And some of them came back after quite a long wait. So those customers, thank you for your patience. Guys, if you're looking for having your books pressed and cleaned, look no further. Been doing this for a long time now. Head over to Google, check out my Google reviews, see what people have to say about me and my service. I've assembled a great team at my shop. Your comics are in great care. And we pride ourselves on a great attention to detail. Every book is given the love and attention they deserve. Whether it's a $10 book or a $10,000 book, your book is being very well taken care of. We send books to CGC weekly. As you can see, I pretty much can do a show every single week. Books are coming back constantly. And I have been sending boxes out to CGC every week and a half if I can't get to it. But for the most part, they're going out weekly. So if you've got books that you just want to send, I can send the books. If you don't want them pressed, I can also help you in that department as well. Friends, thanks for coming by today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please join us again next Tuesday. And hit the notification bell too, because you never know. Sometimes I do go live impromptu, and I wouldn't want you to miss that if I decide to do that. Listen, have a great rest of your week. Have a fabulous weekend ahead, and we'll see you once again next Tuesday right here on the Comic Doctor YouTube channel. Until then, my friends, take care. Have a great night. Bye for now.